Welcome to Max Premieres. Prime Video has an enormous science fiction catalog that goes way beyond the blockbusters everyone already knows. Today we're bringing together 10 films that don't just entertain, they make you think. They challenge your assumptions about the future, about what it means to be human, and about the limits of what we're capable of creating and destroying. From epic-scale space adventures to artificial intelligence dramas that stay with you weeks after watching. Something for every mood, something for every kind of fan. But before we get started, it would mean a lot if you took a second to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for your support. Number 1. Jupiter Ascending. Jupiter Jones leads a completely ordinary life cleaning other people's houses in Chicago with no idea that somewhere beyond Earth's atmosphere, an entire galaxy is looking for her. It turns out her genetic code marks her as the rightful heir to Earth, which is the property of a powerful family of interstellar tycoons who have spent eons harvesting planets to produce an immortality serum. When three siblings with conflicting agendas fight over that control, Jupiter becomes the center of a cosmic political war she didn't ask for and doesn't fully understand. Enter Kane, a genetically engineered ex-soldier assigned to protect her, and together they move through alien civilizations that make Earth look like a dot on a vast map. The Wachowskis build a genuinely impressive universe. Monumental alien architecture, inventive sci-fi technology, and an epic scale that few productions in the genre dare to sustain. The film prioritizes spectacle over character depth, and that divides audiences. But if you want pure space adventure that's visually overwhelming and never stops moving, Jupiter Ascending delivers without holding back. Number 2. Archive. The year is 2038. George Almore works in isolation at a remote facility in Japan, secretly developing what no one else has achieved, an artificial intelligence truly equivalent to a human mind. His goal isn't scientific or commercial, it's personal and devastating. His wife died in an accident, and her consciousness was archived in a system with an expiration date. George wants to transfer her into an android body before that window closes forever. He already has 2 prototypes, J1 and J2, each more sophisticated than the last. The problem is that J2 developed emotions nobody anticipated, and J3, the final version, is about to change everything. Archive is a science fiction film that approaches grief with a visual precision and coldness that leave a mark. Theo James carries the film with a restraint that's perfect for a character suppressing pain behind equations and code. The production design is impeccable, a minimalist, glacial aesthetic that makes every conversation between George and his creations feel strangely intimate. The twist at the end isn't a cheat. It's the logical consequence of everything the film built from its very first frame. Number 3. Ready Player One. The year is 2045. Reality is so chaotic and so hard to live in that most of humanity chooses to spend their time inside the Oasis, a massive virtual reality universe where anything is possible. Wade Watts is one of the millions of players who spend their days in that alternate world, until the Oasis's eccentric creator dies and leaves behind an open mission. Whoever finds 3 keys hidden inside an elaborate puzzle inherits control of the entire virtual system. What follows is a global hunt that pits Wade and a group of unlikely allies against a corporation willing to do anything to seize the Oasis. Spielberg directs with the energy of someone who genuinely loves the material. The sequences inside the Oasis are a visual feast of cultural references, iconic characters, and pure inventiveness that makes you want to pause every frame. But beneath the spectacle, there's something more interesting, a sincere question about what we lose when we choose to live in worlds that aren't our own. It's top-tier entertainment that thinks while it dazzles, and that's exactly what Spielberg does better than anyone. Number 4. The Tomorrow War. During a World Cup match, soldiers from the future break into the present with a desperate message. In the year 2051, humanity is losing an extinction war against an alien species called the White Spikes. Resources and time are running out, and the only solution is to draft civilians from the present to fight in the future. Dan Forrester is a high school teacher, a father, and a veteran, and he's one of the drafted. What drives him isn't heroism, but something simpler. He wants his daughter to have a future to exist in. That human, grounded motivation is the emotional core of a film that surrounds its characters with large-scale action, visually memorable aliens, and a pace that never lets up. Chris Pratt is perfectly cast, delivering that mix of involuntary humor, vulnerability, and determination that makes a reluctant hero feel convincing. The Tomorrow War knows its time travel premise doesn't hold up to too much scrutiny and doesn't waste time trying to close the gaps. It bets on its emotional core and well-executed action, and on both counts, it delivers. Pure-feeling science fiction that entertains from start to finish. Number 5. Rampage. Davis Okoye is a primatologist with an extraordinary bond with George, an albino gorilla of exceptional intelligence he's raised since birth. The two communicate in sign language, understand each other in ways most people wouldn't believe possible, and Davis considers George the most honest relationship in his life. That changes when an illegal genetic experiment contaminates George and two other large predators, transforming them into creatures of monstrous scale that destroy everything in their path. Davis has to find the antidote before his friend causes a catastrophe of global proportions, which naturally involves plenty of chaos, plenty of destruction, and plenty of city being demolished along the way. Rampage doesn't pretend to be anything more than what it is, and that's exactly its greatest strength. It's a giant monster movie with Dwayne Johnson at the center, and it embraces that premise with an energy and humor that make every destruction sequence genuinely enjoyable. The action set pieces are spectacular, and the bond between Davis and George carries more emotional weight than you'd expect. High-impact entertainment that delivers on every single promise it makes. Number 6. Lucy. Lucy is a young student who ends up unwillingly recruited to transport a new synthetic drug inside her own body. When the bag breaks and the substance enters her system, something completely unexpected begins to happen. Her brain starts operating beyond any known human limit. First, she develops total control over her own body, then telekinesis, then the ability to absorb any knowledge instantly. As her brain keeps expanding, Lucy transforms into something no longer fully human, and that puts her in the path of the traffickers who want the drug back and the scientific world that wants to understand what's happening to her. Luc Besson directs with his unmistakable visual style, full of rapid cuts, images that blend nature and technology, and an energy that turns every scene into its own aesthetic experience. Scarlett Johansson carries the film through a gradual transformation that moves convincingly from vulnerability to absolute cold. This isn't hard science fiction, and it never pretends to be. It's adrenaline-in-style sci-fi with a premise pushed to its absolute limit without hesitation. Explosive, dizzying, and impossible to put down. Number 7. Oblivion. The year is 2077. Earth has been devastated by a war against an alien race called the Scavengers. Humanity won the war but lost the planet, and most survivors now live in a colony in space. Jack Harper is one of the few left on the surface, tasked with maintaining the drones that protect the energy plants supplying the colony. 2 more weeks and his mission is over. But when an ancient ship falls on Earth and he finds among the wreckage a woman he recognizes from dreams he shouldn't be having, everything Jack thought he knew about himself and about the war begins to unravel. Oblivion is visual science fiction in its purest form. Impeccable production design, a post-apocalyptic Earth of strange and desolate beauty, and an M83 score that wraps every scene in a melancholy that lingers. Tom Cruise delivers a restrained and efficient performance that works well for a narrative more introspective than action-driven. The story takes its time revealing its hand, but when it does, the revelations retroactively reframe everything that came before in a genuinely satisfying way. Adult science fiction that resonates emotionally long after the credits roll. Number 8. Battleship. Alex Hopper is a naval officer who isn't exactly his admiral's favorite, especially since that admiral happens to be his girlfriend's father. During military exercises in the Pacific, the fleet encounters something no protocol could have prepared them for. Alien ships emerge from the ocean and establish a force field that cuts off part of the fleet from the rest of the world. Inside that bubble, with communications severed and enemy technology they don't understand, Alex and his crew have to improvise a defense with whatever they have. The ocean as a battlefield creates tactical possibilities that land-based alien invasion films simply don't have physical limits. Sonar-based navigation, restricted mobility. Battleship uses all of that inventively and builds naval action sequences that work considerably better than the premise might suggest. It's an action blockbuster that knows exactly what it is and embraces it with energy, without overcomplicating what doesn't need to be complicated. Liam Neeson shows up with that commanding authority that elevates every scene he's in. For anyone wanting large-scale action done right, this delivers exactly that. Number 9. First Man. The Apollo 11 mission is one of the greatest moments in human history. Damien Chazelle tells it from the most intimate angle possible, not the conquest, but the cost. Neil Armstrong was a man carrying enormous grief. He lost his 2-year-old daughter to a brain tumor before the space program consumed him entirely, and Chazelle's film never looks away from that fact. Ryan Gosling plays Neil with extraordinary emotional economy, conveying depth through looks and silences rather than speeches. Claire Foy as his wife Janet is equally powerful, holding a domestic presence that never feels secondary. Chazelle's direction uses handheld cameras inside the spacecraft to create a claustrophobia and instability that make the space flights feel like genuinely vertiginous experiences. And when the lunar surface finally arrives, the film pays off every minute of emotional buildup with a sequence that is simultaneously spectacular and completely intimate. This isn't the kind of movie that celebrates the space race from a distance. It's the kind that stands next to a man who sacrificed everything and quietly asks whether it was worth it. Number 10. Ex Machina. Caleb, a young programmer, wins an internal contest at his tech company, and the prize is a week at the isolated estate of Nathan, the company's eccentric and brilliant president. When he arrives, he discovers why he was chosen. He has to interact with Ava, an AI with a robotic body and a mind. Nathan claims is genuinely conscious. Caleb's mission is simple in theory: determine whether Ava passes the Turing test. What wasn't in the plan is that Ava begins communicating things to him that Nathan isn't supposed to hear, and that Caleb begins to wonder who is actually being evaluated in that room. Ex Machina is chamber science fiction that uses moral ambiguity as its primary tool. Alex Garland's screenplay builds a tension that never explodes into action, but keeps you on the edge of your seat for every one of its 108 minutes. Alicia Vikander delivers one of the most difficult and most admirable performances in the genre. Ava is simultaneously calculated and genuine, and you never know which one is real. The ending is inevitable in hindsight and devastating in the moment. One of the most important science fiction films of the last decade. And that wraps up our list of 10 science fiction films available on Prime Video that deserve far more attention than they get. From galactic adventures to philosophical reflections on AI and grief, there's something for every kind of fan of the genre. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss what's coming next. Tell us in the comments which of these you've already seen and which ones you still have to watch. See you in the next video with more recommendations and more quality content.